Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, and this is a custom video for Ed. All right, in this video, we're going to look at his three-piece Rolex collection. And in the next video, we're going to talk about what Rolex he should add next. All right, so here's Ed's email. Dear Austin, big fan of your channel and love your straight talking and insightful discourse on Rolex watches, which are my favorites too. I also love the backdrop of Japan, which is one of my favorite countries to visit, and I even recognize some of the stores you frequent. Thanks, and keep them coming. Well, thank you, Ed. I do appreciate that. I'd like to get a custom video, please. One which will help me decide which watch to get in order to round out my Rolex collection. I've been into Rolex since the early 90s when I saw my boss wearing what I now know to be a 11613 bluesy, and that's the pre-ceramic two-tone blue-dialed Submariner. But I didn't actually buy my first Rolex until 2013 when I walked into an authorized dealer here in Singapore and bought myself a 116610 LV, that's the Submariner Hulk, the steel green bezel, green dial Hulk, as it's nicknamed. I chose this over the 116613 LB Bluesy because although I love the latter's beauty, I couldn't see myself wearing it every day due to its bling factor. So he passed up the chance to get what his boss had been wearing because of the two-tone nature of that watch. And that is, talking about the two-tone bluesy, a really eye-catching watch. And so yeah, I do question the everyday usability of that watch in certain situations, so I get where you're coming from, Ed. So we ended up going with the all-steel ceramic green bezel, green dial Hulk, as it's known. In 2014, I acquired the 116710 BLNR GMT Master 2 Batman, as it's nicknamed, and that's the GMT Master 2 ceramic on an Oyster bracelet. It's got the bicolored bezel, black, blue, so it's a great collectible watch to have, and he added that a year after adding that Submariner. And he bought that at a different AD, and for a while he writes he was content. In 2016, so 2 years after getting those pieces, more or less, I started to get interested in the Daytona. This was when you could still walk into an authorized dealer and have a decent chance of picking up a steel ceramic. But I was mesmerized by the Platona, and that's the nickname for the Platinum Daytona, 116506, but I could never justify to myself spending that much, and it didn't occur to me to pick up a 116500 LN, and that's the steel ceramic Daytona, as there didn't seem to be an urgency back then. You know, it seems like we've been in this situation forever, like ever since I can remember, where you couldn't find these steel pieces at authorized dealers, but it's only been about 5 years. It's been longer for the Daytona, and things have really ramped up, and there was a time in the last 5-year period where you could find Explorer 2s or Explorers Datejusts in steel Oyster Perpetuals, but those are as hard to get as Daytonas. Well, probably not as hard to get, but you're about as likely to stumble upon an Oyster Perpetual than you are a Daytona. You know, you have to wonder, will this scarcity trickle down to even the two-tone pieces? And, you know, will it be really tough to find 41mm two-tone Datejust or 36mm two-tone Datejust? Could we hit a point where there's nothing but Cellini models in the cases, and to get anything, you got to buy a Cellini first? I mean, is that what the future holds? Interesting question, I wonder. In 2018, I started to get seriously interested in the Daytona again, but prices had already started to go crazy, so I just put the idea on the back burner. In the meantime, I bought a white 114300 39mm Oyster Perpetual as something a bit more understated, and as it turns out, it's the watch that gets the most wrist time, as I find it more comfortable than the other two. So I get the gist that you like sort of understated watches, simple watches. You're wearing the 39mm Oyster Perpetual the most, so that's kind of telling, and sort of you shied away from the two-tone bluesy. So that's something to keep in mind when we talk about your choices. And that is a really cool watch to have. They made that just for a couple of years, the 39mm Oyster Perpetuals. Now you can get the 36mm Oyster Perpetuals or the 41. You can't get the 36mm versions anymore. And so that, even when they were making them, the white dial version, which is what he has, was the one to have. That was the most popular. And then when they discontinued the 39mm line, of course, that just shot up, and that's the best of the 39mm Oyster Perpetuals. And so what a cool watch to have, and a really lucky buy, because I don't think anybody realized that was going to happen. But looking at your collection, it's a really good three-piece collection. Let me just finish off what he has to say. He says, anyway, now you know the state of my collection and that I've been very, very fortunate to get these pieces at authorized dealers, some with discounts. And to celebrate a recent career milestone, I've decided to get back into the hunt for another Rolex. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. But looking at your collection, Ed, it's just about as perfect as you could get. It's the right size, 3 pieces, all steel wearable pieces. You have your GMT function watch, you have your diver, you have your understated 3-hander that you could wear in a dress situation. And 3 pieces, that's perfect. Okay, that's the perfect size. But it's been since 2018 since you've added a piece. It's 3 years of getting nothing, and you start to fiend. You start to think, I got to add something. And really, to make this hobby interesting, you got to be adding pieces, selling pieces, trading pieces, moving in some capacity. So it's really hard for you to be happy and content 3 years on. So I get where you're coming from, but you bought right. Box, papers, new, unpolished, from authorized dealers, and you could get out of this collection for a lot more than you put into it. So that's great. You know, a lot of people might say that that kind of makes the pieces unwearable, and it does if you look at them as investments or as things that you could make money on. I would encourage you not to do that, because it's gonna take the fun out of wearing them. But you've got collectible pieces, every single one, and you're in a really good spot, but you want to add another piece. And that's what we're going to talk about in the second video. So guys, drop a comment in the comment section. What should he add? All right. He's bored. He's got a perfect collection, but he wants to add something. He's got some money to spend. So what would you add? Let Ed know, and we'll continue this in the second video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.